Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am finally, I don't know why it's taken me this long to sit down and do a full face of RMS. If you've been following me for any length of time, you know how much I love this brand. And I just can't believe I've never gotten in front of the camera and done a face only using their products. There are a couple of exceptions, but 95% of the face here is using RMS products. So if you want to see how I achieved it super fast, super easy, name of the game for me and my channel, then let's hop in. I don't have a corrector from RMS. I don't think they make anything like that. So I went ahead and put my Dermatology under my eyes. They do make a concealer. I don't have it. It's been a long time since I've tried it. And I feel like when I did try it, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. Now, my tastes have greatly changed since then. So I might like it if I tried it again. I just don't have it now. I'm actually going to be using my base product as a concealer, so I did want to make sure I had some corrector on. And that base product is actually SPF. I have done this before in a video. I have talked about it, I think, in a favorites video. I've shown how I use it, but it bears repeating, okay? Because it is so good. This is the RMS Supernatural Radiance Serum SPF 30. Now, I sometimes use this as my actual SPF. I sometimes only use it as my SPF and don't use makeup on top. I sometimes use it as my SPF and do use makeup on top. And today I'm using it as my makeup. So I do have a separate SPF underneath, just in the case I don't use enough of this to provide the coverage. So I have the Fizz SPF 30 on already, and I'm gonna use this as my foundation. So I have light and medium, and I like to mix them. The more into the summer I get, I will use more of the medium than light. This is the medium. It's a little bit of a thicker consistency. However, I don't find that it lays heavy on the skin, and I'm gonna put about that much light. So see, this is not enough to use just as an SPF. If I use it as an SPF, I will probably do about 4 entire finger lengths full. But we're gonna start out with just this as my base today, and I'm going to apply it like I would a moisturizer or an SPF, and just be a little bit more careful around my brows. So as you can see, it does have some glow to it. This is a product that is extremely, extremely glowy upon first application, but the longer that it sits into the skin, the more it evens out, and it's not quite this glowy. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of just the light and use it underneath my eyes for just a little bit of added coverage. So obviously this is not gonna be a full coverage. This gives a sheer coverage in itself. Just really more evens out the skin tone than anything, but I'm just gonna tap a little bit under my eyes. And that's gonna be my concealer for the day, again, because I don't have the other concealer. So let's let that sink in while we do our eyes. Probably gonna be no surprise what I'm gonna use. I am gonna use the Eyelights. Now, I often use the powder products, the powder blushes, the powder bronzer on my eyes as eyeshadow. And I might still today, but I'm gonna start out with this color, which I don't think I've shown on camera. This is called Supernova. I had talked about these in my favorite one and done eyeshadow video, and I actually showed how I apply them, which to me works best when I just tap it onto my eyelid. So that's what I'm gonna do. And this is definitely a darker shade. In fact, it is the darkest shade. And before it sets down, the darkest shade I have, I'm gonna just take a little bit of a dense brush and kind of blend it out. And it's one of the ones that has the least amount of shimmer to it. So it's not gonna be high shine, but it is very opaque. It's got a little bit of a sheen, they all do. It's the nature of a creamy formula, but this is more of like a chocolatey taupe shade. And then to brighten it up, I'm gonna put a little bit of Moondust in the center, which is what I often do. It's what I did in that one and done video. And I don't think I'm done with it. I think I'll come back at the end and kind of add something to it, but those are gonna be the first initial steps. Just placing it in the center and then using my finger to kind of blend out any harsh edges. All right, now let's go back to the face. I'm gonna go ahead and set my under eyes. I don't have an RMS powder. Well, I do obviously have an RMS powder that I'm gonna use. It's so new to me, I haven't tried it under the eyes. So I'm just gonna stick with what I know works right now, and that's my Pat McGrath Sublime Under Eye Setting Powder. And just lightly set that corrector and SPF. I think I'm gonna do a powder bronzer. I brought out both of them, but because we're so shiny right now and so glowy, I don't necessarily wanna add to that too much, but the Buriti bronzer, which is the cream bronzer, is really, really, really pretty. See that sheen? Very pretty. But I think, again, I'm gonna use a powder bronzer. For blush though, I am gonna use one of their cream blushes, and I may end up topping it with powder, but this is the Lip to Cheek in Demure, which kind of matches my shirt a little bit. I'm gonna use my e.l.f. liquid blush brush. It's a really pretty color. It just looks super pink and vibrant. And again, these are lip to cheek products, so they can be used on your lips or your cheeks. Now I'm gonna set everything down with the brand new Hydra setting powder. Use this in my Playing With Mew makeup video. Was it last week? I'm in the shade Sheer Light. And so far I'm really loving this powder. Now I really liked their old powder, and I don't think I mentioned that in the last video that I used this in. I think it was called the like Tinted Unpowder or something. And I did like that one. In fact, it was one of my favorites for keeping my face matte throughout the day. And you can see that this one does take down the shine, not completely, but a good amount, while still being hydrating on the skin, like it's not drying at all. Now I kept the swatch of the Buriti bronzer because I wanted to compare it to their Redimension Hydra bronzer in the shade Malibu Muse, which is my preferred shade, so that you can see which one you might like more for you. The Buriti bronzer is definitely more neutral than the Malibu Muse. You can see how much warmer that is. It also has more of a sheen, being a cream product. Despite the fact that the Malibu Muse is a baked gelée, it still does not have the same sheen as the Buriti bronzer. So I'm gonna take a little bit of the Malibu Muse and then bronze up the skin. Now, if I had all three of the SPFs, I would probably use the Deep as kind of a cream bronzer for this step, but I do love these powder bronzers from them. Starting to come together. Now, I don't think I need another blush on top of this. The blush is coming through very nicely through the powder. I did want to show you that you can definitely check out certain palettes that RMS has. They tend to bring these out occasionally and switch them up some. This is the Lip to Cheek Glow Quad, and it has 3 like cheek lip shades and then 1 highlight shade, and it is very, very compact. You can see in comparison to the bronzer, it's a little bit smaller. So good for travel if you're someone who's on the road a lot and likes to have a 4-in-1 product. I am going to use, I think, the powder highlight instead of that cream highlight in there. The Prosecco Fizz Redimension Hydra highlight. Is it Hydra highlight? Hydra Dew Luminizer. Don't really need more dew, but since when does that stop me? This is the same formula as the bronzers and the blushes, which are obviously some of my favorites. Now, I will not wax poetic about the blushes any more than I already have in the past, because y'all know these are some of my very favorite blushes of all time. I have every single shade in the line. This one I'm gonna use not on my cheeks, but I'm gonna finish off my eyes. And this is the Cure Royale. And I'm gonna use this kind of in my crease as a light dusting of pink to kind of tie in my shirt, have it be not as dark on the lid, and just bring something else to the look. I'm not gonna do anything on my lower lash line. Despite the darker shade on the top, I do wanna make this a little bit more open and fresh face because the skin is. So I'm gonna skip that. I am gonna do mascara off camera. I'm using my little mini RMS Beauty Straight Up Mascara. I have a backup of the full size. I've used it many a times on my channel and love it, but I have so many mascaras open right now that I was like, I'm not gonna open the big one. I'm gonna wait until I need to open another big one and use this one instead. So I'll do this off camera and then we will finish up with lips. Okay, so that is 2 coats of the RMS mascara. And now we are gonna finish off with lips. And quite honestly, other than the lip to cheek shades that I showed you, only have one lip product from RMS. So if y'all have a favorite lip product from them, please let me know. But this is the Liplights in the shade Crush. Now, I say I only have one. I only have one tinted one. I also have the lip mask that comes in this same tube. It's like a dark blue. And I have been using that at night and I really like it. So this is in the shade Crush, which is described as a modern dusty pink. So these are pretty thick. I'm just gonna take just a little bit first. I like that. I like the way it feels. I like the way it looks. Like I don't need an extra gloss on top of it. It's very similar to the feel of the lip balm that I use like overnight in the blue tube. I've used that before, but it's been a hot minute and I actually like it. So here is a close-up of the skin. I mean, RMS just does skin really well. And I actually am not minding just the corrector and SPF under the eyes. We'll see how that wears throughout the day. I'm sure it'll wear great because the SPF has always worn great on me. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I love RMS, if you can't tell, because they have great products that work, and also because I end up getting a look like this every time I use them, and it just is a confidence boosting look to me. I just really like what it does for the skin. So I will have everything listed and linked down below. Let me know if you have any questions. Be sure and like and subscribe before you leave so you don't miss out on any future videos. And I hope you all go out and have a very blessed day.